Hello, everyone. It's March the 7th, Monday. You know, before I get into all this, I want to just say that some of these numbers could be skewed just a little bit. Like I said, we always want to take heed over the fact that we're coming out of a weekend, and sometimes the numbers just don't get to us as quickly as they should, and or as quickly as they can, I guess. But nevertheless, we are only showing 12 deaths since Friday. And 12 deaths is astronomically bad. There's no question about that. But, you know, if you'll just think about it, that's the number of people that were in the Sago mine when we lost 11 right off the get-go. And I frankly don't know the fate of the other gentleman that was there. But nevertheless, 12 is a whole lot better number than where we've been. I caution everyone, though, from the standpoint of just the fact that our numbers are getting lots better, but I caution everyone that this just could be a reporting over the weekend, and it could be much worse than that. The 6,441st death in West Virginia is a 79-year-old male from Taylor County. The 6,442nd death, a 67-year-old male from Upshur County. The 6,443rd death, a 64-year-old male from Raleigh County. The 6,444th death, a 71-year-old male from Mineral County. The 6,445th death, a 45-year-old male from Cabell County. The 6,446th death, a 64-year-old female from Nicholas County. The 6,447th death, an 82-year-old male from Hampshire County. The 6,448th death, an 89-year-old male from Upshur County. The 6,449th death, a 74-year-old female from Wood County. The 6,450th death, an 83-year-old female from Preston County. The 6,451st death, a 79-year-old female from Kanawha County. And the 6,452nd death in West Virginia is a 79-year-old female from Kanawha County. Again, 6,452 deaths in West Virginia. You can't let them just become a number. Please don't do that. Please offer up your prayers for them, a phone call if you know them, whatever it may be. Be supportive of all their loved ones. These people are hurting. These people are really hurting, their families and everything. So please don't let them become a number. Our active cases in West Virginia are 1,909. You know, that's up a good little bit and everything, but, you know, from, you know, it seems like, I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but our active cases, I thought the other day, were down, you know, in the 500 range. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe that was the new positive cases. But my notes here are saying this is the first day we're under 2,000 active cases in West Virginia since July the 28th, so I must have been wrong about that. But our new positive cases are at 1,085. I think that's where I had that confused. Our daily positivity rate is at 5.26. We're dropping a little bit on our cumulative rate. It'll come down really slow, but it's at 8.37. We have recovered cases of 485,000 folks in West Virginia. Our hospitalizations are at 404, and that's significantly lower. You know, we have 100 people in the ICU units and 50 people on ventilators. We do have a gold and an orange county now in West Virginia, but we're watching and everything. Our numbers, our mapping, all look significantly better. You know, the Biden administration has offered up the free for-home, COVID test and everything. You can go to our COVID, test.gov, and we'll show you and how to get through that and get those free home tests. And from the standpoint of N95 mask, the Biden administration also has offered up 3 free N95 masks, and they're available at the pharmacies and the community centers. I remind you over and over about the most important thing that I can tell you about is your booster shots. You know, these vaccines have been tremendously effective, and they have been a blessing from God above in every way. You know, but if you're out, from J&J, I think 2 months, and out from Pfizer and Moderna, 5 months is from when you were vaccinated the last time, and you haven't gotten your booster shot, you're absolutely not protected much right now. And so you really need to do that, especially if you're 50 and older, because this disease, we know, attacks the elderly, and it can be one absolute miserable death. We don't want you to get sick, and we absolutely want you to just be able to, for us to get back to as much normalcy as we possibly can. We need you to get that booster shot. Our vaccine numbers and everything continue to still get a little bit better. We're at 71.5% of all the folks that are out there that are 18 and above, and we just, we're just going to keep telling everybody to get that booster shot. And if you haven't gotten vaccinated, you probably should think really hard about doing that, because sure as I know my name, there's a likelihood that this is not over. We feel very, very happy that summer's on the way. Sunshine's on the way, better temperatures and all that kind of stuff. But with all of that, people will be outside. That makes them less likely to get in a tough situation and everything, like if we were all inside and everything. But nevertheless, we still got to be, we just got to be safe. We got to watch what we're doing and be safe. Be respectful of all wishes and freedoms that everyone has. I have not wavered. I have not wavered one bit from this, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But nevertheless, we want to be smart. Be smart and try to be as safe as we possibly can. From the standpoint of the COVID vaccine info line, it's all up there on our website. Take advantage of all the free testing. If you're feeling the least bit bad in any way, just take advantage. It's there for you. Our long-term care facilities are down to 125 outbreaks. That's still way too many, but it's better. Our church community does not have any church outbreaks right now. Corrections, we have 105 inmate cases and 20 staff cases. Good work on corrections part. We really appreciate all they're doing. I encourage you about giving blood. Especially if you've had this dreaded disease and recovered and everything, it's been a blessing. Check with your physician to make sure that that you're a candidate to give blood. But if you're that and everything, and you can find in your heart to do so, the Red Cross and all of us would really appreciate it. From the standpoint of the rental assistance program, it's still there. There's still significant money. It's all up on our website and everything. You can absolutely take advantage of this. We'll try every way in the world we can to get you qualified if you're a renter or a landlord. And with all that and everything, it's just more money that can go into our system in West Virginia. The multiplier effect of those dollars is real. And more than anything, if we can just help some people that are struggling a little bit, we want to try to do it. Our Job Jumpstart program is up and going now. We've mimicked Oklahoma, like I've said many times, and we're going to get $1,500 to people that are going to even lower our unemployment rate even better in West Virginia. We're at historic lows right now, but if we can get just a few more people back into the workforce and everything, all of our businesses would greatly appreciate and need those people back. But more than anything, in my book, you get a person that's absolutely, just kind of feels like, well, there's nowhere for me to go and everything else like that, and they get them a job, they get a real feeling of passion and net worth and pride and everything, and they off they go, and that's really great stuff. Our investment management board, 2%, and good gracious, I don't know where these things could come from, but I'm sorry, not 2%, 0.2%. 0.2% of our investments, that board invests, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in and everything are in some level of something that is a Russian-backed security, but it's so insignificant, it's unbelievable. Remember, it's 0.2%. It's 1/5 of 1%, so 99, let me get this straight, it's 99.8% of all of our investments in West Virginia have nothing to do with this. 99.8%. You've always heard 99.9. Well, this is 99.8. Have nothing to do with this. But, you know, what I'm asking is that we, you know, that our investment committee, you know, go and basically come together to consider a resolution which would make it basically, you know, that unacceptable that we would go forward to do anything whatsoever with any type, whether it be slight or significant in any way, do anything whatsoever with anything to do with Russia. You know, until this crisis is way long gone, you know, what's going on, and we see it over and over in nightly news. It's sadness beyond belief in my book, you know, and it's irresponsibility beyond belief. You know, we all know that all the signals that go out, and the world has to read the tea leaves, do they not? They saw us walk off, you know, from Afghanistan and leave all kinds of our people and the people that have been good to us and friends to us. They saw us absolutely just turn our back and do the things that we've done in regard to our own borders. You know, many times people have said, you know, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. I mean, and we see now the weakness that is perpetuated all across this world, and with a bad actor, you know, in Putin over there, him taking advantage of that weakness. Well, I mean, how in the world could we not have at least supplied weaponry to Ukraine months ago, and now trying to rush and do everything under the sun, and with all that's going on over there, we don't need anything to do with Russia. That's all there is to it. Russia's not the United States of America, and you're dealing with a nut job over there, and it's hard to tell what in the world could come of that. But really, I don't think that Putin is. I really don't think that he's a nut job at all. I think he's calculative, and I think he is absolutely a smart guy. And I think he sees weakness, and he sees that the United States is being run today by President Biden, who's super weak and confused and everything else under the sun, and he tries to take advantage. And he doesn't think that we'll stand up, and that we won't really stand up for what's right and what's wrong. There's not much that I can do in the state of West Virginia. You know, I can come out and say with our investment management board, if we have anything whatsoever in all of our portfolio that ties to anything with Russia, stop it. You know, and but really and truly, you talk about totally powerless. I guess I really am, but I can tell you that that I hope and pray that that this doesn't escalate. I have great worries that it can, and it probably will. I have tremendous sympathy with the fact that I can't fathom. I just can't fathom that this day and time, in 2022, in this world, we think it's okay for someone to just bomb a residential neighborhood or a school or whatever it may be, hospitals or whatever, in order to drive people into total submission that they will just throw up and surrender. You know, it's really sad. It's you know, so anyway, you don't want me to go on and on and on about that and everything. The last thing I want you to really pay close attention to me on this. You know, you put up with a lot. And in this office and everything, people from time to time criticize and say this and that and everything, and you just kind of roll with the punches. Because at the end of the day, I know with all in me that from the day I walked in the door to where things are today, this state has done really good. And I know that Toby and Edith that are out there, just the average everyday West Virginians, they're with me. And I know they're with me to the tune of 70% of them are with me. And they know I love them. They absolutely know that I've got their back. And you know what? I know they got mine too. And so I don't know why we have to put up with things like this and everything that rise to this level of wrong. And what I am getting to is Phil Kabler. Phil Kabler had been with the Charleston Gazette, and God knows, thank God, he's not now there with them and has finally retired. But throughout a lot of time, you know, there's lots of people out there that would argue all day long that Phil Kabler's damage to West Virginia has been pretty daggum significant. In a recent article now, Phil Kabler basically blames me and the legislature over 6,452 deaths in the state of West Virginia because per his line, I did not advocate and stand up for people to be vaccinated or wear their mask. He was just traveling recently in California, I guess, and you know, where he thought that things just worked so well there in a state that had a recall election and people migrating out of that state like crazy. He thought things were so marvelously good there that I wish to God above that some way, somehow, he would have gone to California a long time ago. He was on a train when that was happening, and it would have been wonderful, in my book, if the train would have been hijacked and he would have been kept in California forever, you know. But nevertheless, I've got to just say just this. You know, there's a time in life when you got to say, okay, enough's enough. Enough's enough. And you've got to draw a line in the sand, and you've got to be big enough to stand up for what you really think are goodness and the right stuff. Now, here's the thing. Kabler's beat on me, and he's not even worthy of this level of attention. But here's the thing. You know, he's cast many, many, many stones, and he's continued to do that and do that and do that, and he enjoys doing that. He really legitimately, significantly hurt our businesses by casting stones towards our businesses that were outrageous at times. You know, we just took it. You know, he really came out, and a little kid, just a beautiful young kid, a young boy, 7 years old, named Landon, foster kid, that wanted, you know, really wanted just some level of attention on his birthday, you know, from the governor. And I wrote him a card. And really, Kabler just attacked that whole deal. You know, he made terrible fun of our custodians and the people that work so hard that absolutely take care of our capital and really, literally crossed a line like you can never imagine. Made fun of their handicaps and made fun of it to the point in time, and not only did he do things to cause them confusion and trouble with their handicaps, you know, then went and posted it on social media and made fun of it. And then came on our briefing crying, basically apologizing all over himself without any question whatsoever. The Charleston Gazette should have fired him that very day. And you know what I said? I said, look, we should forgive everyone. And without any question, we should move forward. And we should forgive. Because I really believe that's what the good book teaches us to do. Let me tell you just this. In addition to that, the next step from Phil Kabler was writing into the governor's office. We've got the emails and everything where he wrote directly to the governor's office in a rant with the foulest language that you could come up with a GD type language to the governor's office. You know, the foulest language that you could possibly come up with on a guy that was supposedly the head news guy, you know, for the Charleston Gazette, our state newspaper. And then if that's not enough for you, then repeatedly basically got on me because I was asking for your prayers, and I believe with all in me that God above God above. In this book right here, absolutely, God above. And this book right here drives me in my life. And I ask for your prayers for all kinds of people every day. And I truly believe that God above is our foundation in every way in this country. He has come back to that. It was to basically trash me more and say that he knows there is no God. He's a true atheist. He is absolutely trouble everywhere you can turn. And now we cross our line, don't we? Now, basically, when I traveled all over this state, begging people, promoting in every way for people to be vaccinated at every turn. When I told you absolutely over and over and over about wearing your mask and how important it was, and have given every single thing that I have to tell you that absolutely I do believe you should be vaccinated. I do believe at times when things were really tough, because I could only go on what was coming to me from all of our experts, that wearing masks probably did save a lot of lives. We now learn many things, that the N95 mask is really the only mask that probably really worked. But we didn't know that at that time. You know, but with all of that, absolutely for this man to say that I did not promote the vaccines or the mask, I surely did. But without question, I also did one other thing, and that is this, and I stand steadfast by this to my grave, and that is just simply one thing, and that is just this, is our freedoms, our individual freedoms brought us in this country to where we are and who we are. And absolutely we should be respectful of that all across the board. Did I think you should be vaccinated? Sure. Do I think my feelings should be imposed on everyone and with mandates? No way. No way. But now here's exactly what I'm going to do, because I've always wanted to be super transparent. I am absolutely going to contact Marshall Reynolds and Doug Reynolds today, and I'm going to tell them today that I am entering suit against the Charleston Gazette and Phil Kabler. They need to handle this situation. They need to handle this situation for sure. And if this situation persists and he continues to do the kind of things he's doing, we'll deal with it in court. Absolutely, without any question. I think the law clearly says that it has to be outrageous for some attack on a public official to warrant that public official to be able to intersuit. The only thing bad about this is he'll get some more attention. But now just think about this man, an atheist, a man with the worst vulgar mouth under the sun, a man that makes fun of foster children, a man that makes fun of our custodians and their handicaps here, a man that absolutely prints stuff that knowingly is so outrageously a lie, it's unbelievable. And to let him go on. See, I'm not in that boat. I'm just not in that boat. I'm not in the boat to just idly sit by and let people do stuff that I know is wrong. Now, I'll put up with a lot, and I've put up with an awful, awful lot. Now we'll see what the game is, big boy. That's all there is to it. We'll see what the game is, because we will see you individually, and we will see the Charleston Gazette after we have a discussion with two people that I really dearly in my heart think the world of, and that's Marshall Reynolds and Doug Reynolds. They're really, really good people. And how on this earth that they can put up with something like this, I'll never know. I'll never know. But because you work there, you know, we will see you individually, and we will see the Charleston Gazette. That's all I got right now.
All right, thank you, Governor. Our full panel of experts is available for questions today. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first today from Charles Young with the WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. I wanted to follow up on my question last week about what's next for the National Guard in the pandemic response. I know, their mission in the hospitals is going to be ending at the end of this week. Could you give us a little bit more information about where we're going to be reallocating those folks? Thank you.
General, please, if you could answer that, please.
Yes, sir, Governor. So, Charles, as Governor stated last week, we had worked with hospitals The 11th is the last day for National Guard personnel in the hospitals. The orders for National Guardsmen and women for pandemic relief is coming to an end at the end of the month, with the exception of some small extensions for logistic drawdown and other things. So the National Guard will be transitioning in large part out of its COVID role as federal government no longer funds National Guard personnel. And there'll be a series of activities that the Guard does a great job with. General Crane and his team will be leading efforts for working those transitions out, to include, we've had a number of hospitals interested in hiring National Guard personnel. There will be some job fairs and other things that will go on. And as the governor stated on Friday, the National Guard will prepare for what its next mission is, whether it may be at home or abroad. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles. Next to Kenny Bass with WCHS and Fox 11.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. Governor, as a public figure, you're well aware that you are a big target. And as you mentioned in your opening remarks, it takes a rather unusual set of circumstances for people in your position to succeed in these types of court cases by having to prove malice and several other factors. Can you specifically go into what is spurring you, of course, after your conversation with the Reynolds, should you decide to proceed? What are you specifically alleging that Mr. Kabler is doing that would rise to the level of a court case where you and your attorneys believe you have a chance to prevail? Thank you, sir.
Well, Kenny, first of all, I think we're way premature, and I do want to have a conversation with Marshall and Doug, because they're good people, and they surely don't deserve, to have to defend lawsuits and everything else like that. And I've been sued lots of times of big target. From time to time, we have to sue other people and everything because, but that is extremely minimal compared to the number of times probably we've been sued. But with all that being said, Kenny, I just don't believe. I just do not believe, really and truly, in allowing people, forever to do stuff, because you're concerned about the political ramifications. We expect people to at least remotely try to tell the truth. There's times when you've been tough on me, but really in all that, I can always count on the fact that Kenny Bass will always tell the truth about stuff. Now, from the standpoint of all this, Kenny, there is volumes and volumes and volumes of stuff. The reality is, just for whatever it may be, nobody's ever challenged Phil Kabler. I did so, and then he continues to write the most absurd stuff in the world. Kenny, I am really hung up on the fact that, I guess in life, we all have buttons to push that really, when you push that button, it's just too many buttons. But, from my standpoint, when you push a button that is negatively, impacting God or negatively impacting children, it's really bad. Kenny, if I could go down in my life and stand for three things: standing for the truth, and this is a typical another lie from Phil Kabler about, how I've stood for the vaccines or whatever it may be. That's a lie. And secondly, if I could go down in my life, well, first and foremost, if I could go down in my life and said, I'm going to stand absolutely upright and steadfast for God, I'm going to do that, Kenny. That's all there is to it. And I'm going to stand for kids too. And surely the disabled, I'm going to stand for them too. And to let this man just do that kind of stuff, you know, it gets back to the whole thing. You're not much of a frog if you're not proud of your own pond. You're not much of a man if you're not willing to stand up, take on things that absolutely maybe nobody else would ever do. Nobody would do them because they're, you're a political figure. It's not right, Kenny. This world has gotten, in my opinion, to this way. And that's all there is to it. Doesn't matter what's right, doesn't matter what's wrong, it matters what we can get by with. Well, that's not me. That's not me. And so at the end of the day, Kenny, yeah, there's a whole lot that's got to be done. First of all, I've got to talk to two people that are real friends, and that's Marshall Reynolds and Doug Reynolds. Good people and real friends. There's no point in having this. This man should be disgraced. That's all there is to it.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Next to Paul Mullen with WCBC.
Good morning, Governor. Good morning, panel. Governor, in West Virginia, gas prices are rising very significantly. In states around West Virginia, the price has gone over $4 a gallon. Do you have any tea leaves that you're reading to tell us how high that is going to go? And at what point do you consider perhaps making a gas tax cut that would help families in West Virginia deal with this onslaught? Thank you.
Paul, the good part about the state of West Virginia where we are today is we have surpluses, and I would be open to anything that could help our folks in West Virginia from the standpoint of some mechanism to be able to address this significant impact and the significant rising of the gas prices. Paul, like I said, thank God above, we have the surpluses and the state is doing as well as the state's doing. That's A. From that standpoint, we're able to continue to do things to help our folks in West Virginia, where if we were dead on our back, we couldn't do. The next thing is just this. I really believe that those people that are benefiting from higher gas prices or whatever it may be, whether it be the natural gas prices, whether it be coal prices, whether it be, oil prices, people that are benefiting, I wish to goodness that they would stand up and try to say, well, we're going to give back a little bit. We're going to do a little bit more. It's just what I said over and over and over about the tiering of severance taxes. But Paul, I would be absolutely for trying to help our folks in West Virginia in any way that I possibly can. But Paul, here's the problem. How high are these gas prices going to go? What West Virginia may very well be able to do, let's say we could cut the gas tax or whatever like that, 10 cents or whatever. Let's just say we could do something like that. Paul, sure it helps, sure it helped, but from the standpoint of really help, Paul, it's not going to make much difference. These gas prices, are jumping to the tune of, I don't know, 7 or 8 cents maybe a day, and Paul, where they're going to go, in Jim's opinion, what I think is going to happen is just this. We're either going to have to sit idly by and watch all kinds of kids and women and schools and everything be bombed and the loss of life be unbelievable. And then we're going to have to gamble that after the loss of life in this poor country is just beaten down, that maybe Putin will stop then. And what if he doesn't? then if he makes one more move on the chessboard, then we're involved, are we not? And we're involved in the potential of what people would say is World War III. I don't think really in Putin's heart he wants that. I don't think he really wants to entangle with the United States of America. I don't think he wants that at all. I think he's taken advantage of weakness and absolutely believes that who knows if we'll do anything. Who knows if he moves into Poland or whatever and takes Poland? Who knows if we'll do anything? You know, but really and truly, Paul, I think, do you realize this? And we should know this. Do you realize, and our coal producers are wonderful people, crying out loud, my family's just that. You know, and imagine this. Imagine when everything was going completely haywire, 55 coal companies in this state took, or in this nation took bankruptcy, and I didn't. And it made it really, really tough. And we've just continued to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and try as hard as we can to just make it. You know, that's what my family is doing right now. Just trying to still make it with prices like you can't imagine. You know, now, a lot of folks decided to take bankruptcy. They cleared their balance sheet, and now they're making so much money that you can't even fathom it. They don't like me talking about that. They say, well, you're a coal man. Why in the world would you talk about that? You know, why would you do that? And I say, because it's the truth. It's just the truth. You know, but Paul, in that steam coal prices that historically had been in the neighborhood of, when I was trying to tier the severance tax on steam coal, Paul, and on metallurgical coal and on oil and gas, steam coal was trading for $35 a ton. This morning, steam coal that was trading for $35 a ton at one time is trading in Rotterdam. You know, Rotterdam, think about this, Paul. It is trading for $433 a ton. Paul. Now that's a metric ton. That's with freight to our port, with ocean freight to Rotterdam. But Paul, prices are unbelievable. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I mean, we could awaken to the fact that day after tomorrow they double. We could awaken to the fact that really and truly gas prices could not stop until they're, you know, $7, $8, $9 a gallon. You know, Paul, the problem with just up and doing something, we can do something and throw a carrot or a teeny bone that may help a little bit, but really and truly, we don't know what's going to happen here, Paul. We do not know. And where it could go and how bad it could get. If logic doesn't prevail, and it doesn't look like it's prevailing surely right now, this could get really bad. You know, I don't know how to answer it any more point blank than just that. I wish to goodness that all of our energy producers, all of my family, all of us together could do more, could come together and say, we're going to do more. We're going to do something. We're not going to ask for more. We're going to do more. We're going to step up and do something. You know, from the standpoint of our state, I'm ready. I'm ready to step up and try to do something. You know, from the standpoint of where this is, I promise you that just this is once it's over, prices will adjust, and they'll adjust downward very, very quickly. But getting from now to when it's over, I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know where we're going to go. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Paul. Next, we'll go to Evan Bevins with Ogden Newspapers.
Thank you. Governor, you mentioned the very small percentage of state investments that were related to Russian-backed funds. What is the next step for the Investment Management Board? Or are you directing them to, cease those investments, and how would that take place? Thank you.
Evan, to be perfectly honest, what's happened is the investment value of those dollars has fallen out of the sky because the ruble has, incinerated with what's going on in the Russian economy, the same. And so, but we are calling an emergency meeting for tomorrow, and they'll vote on a resolution. And from the standpoint of to not do anything going forward whatsoever. And from the standpoint of divesting of them, you can't do anything with it now because everything's frozen on that end anyway. So they surely will not invest in the future in any way. And like I said, it is insignificant, and it really won't matter, because 99.8% of all of our investments have nothing to do with this whatsoever. But it's just come to my attention, and I'm going to do anything and everything I can, to at least push back and let West Virginia's voice be heard. But there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing we can do about the investment in itself right now. All we can do is say whatever we do not make any investment whatsoever that could be connected to Russia in any way going forward. And then we just sit back and wait, and as soon as this crisis or this terrible situation could get over, we'll be able to get out of this, and I'm sure we'll be able to get out of it fine. But because, like I said, from a standpoint of monetarily or impacting West Virginia, it doesn't impact us in any way. But it just, I just think that we got to do something to stand up. I mean, if you just, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how in the world that we just, as Americans or whatever, look and see those folks, loading on those buses and little kids crying about their dads or their granddads or whomever it may be, or their mom or whatever, and just sit back and say, well, that's not us, let's just go do our thing. And we sure can't get drug into a World War III, and I get all that and everything, but it's just bad. It's a bad situation.
All right, thanks, Evan. Next to Katie Ree with WDVM.
Hi, Governor. Hi, panel. My boss, Mark Cram, does give his wishes and his greetings. So the question that I do have is, Governor, you were talking about earlier this meeting that vaccination rates are going up, but also that the West Virginia National Guard will be removed from hospitals and, I guess, stopping COVID aid in their mission. But so is the strategy for West Virginia shifting to more mitigation rather than, prevention and vaccination efforts?
Well, Katie, let me say this. In regard to vaccination, I'll continue to tell everybody that these vaccines are incredibly safe. We absolutely should all be vaccinated in my eyes. We absolutely want to be protective of everyone's rights and respectful of all that. But if you just step back and you got to listen to the science and pay attention. And, from the standpoint of where I'm at, the vaccine's super safe, vaccine's super effective, and really and truly the downside is almost nothing in taking the vaccine. If you don't take the vaccine, the downside's 6,452 folks that I've read the names. There's no question 6,452 people have got COVID and died. I don't think I've ever been told of someone that has been vaccinated and died because of the vaccination. Now, I've been told, of people, that allege part of that, but I've never been told that by someone that is Dr. Marsh or somebody, Dr. Amjad. I've never been told that. I've been told that 6,452 people have died in West Virginia from COVID. Now, there's no guarantee you take the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. there's a lot of guarantee that if you take the vaccine, your odds are 1,000 million times better than somebody that doesn't have it if you get COVID. You know, now, from the standpoint of where we go from here, I think really and truly Dr. Marsh can answer that better than I. If we transition our National Guard or whatever, you know, in different ways, whatever happens with our National Guard, bottom line is just this, you know, I mean, you know, whenever we call, they'll be there. They'll be there no matter what it is. They're the best of the best. But Dr. Marsh, maybe you got something else to add to that, please?
Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Katie. Indeed, the National Guardsmen and women have been heroes in this pandemic response. And given the surge of cases that we saw during the peak of the Omicron pandemic component of the pandemic, the National Guard served a very critical purpose in going into overwhelmed hospitals and being able to provide them with the support to be able to function with more capacity and with better services. Now that we see our hospitalizations dropping, it is important for us to liberate the National Guard for other missions that they have to do. As the governor said, Katie, we continue to push strongly for vaccinations and boosters. We know from all the data all over the world for the Omicron phase of the pandemic response, as well as other phases, that full vaccination and boosting makes a huge difference. And in countries, particularly that vaccinate and boost the older part of their population, they see a substantial reduction in deaths and hospitalizations in countries that don't. And just to put this into context, the US is number 67 among all countries in getting full vaccination and number 54 among all countries of seeing the booster happen. So we still have opportunity there. We also are continuing to learn the lessons from our pandemic response and make sure that we continue to be ready in case COVID does make a different turn than it is made to date. And we see a different variant form of COVID-19 that can threaten the populace of West Virginia, our country, or the world, and we will be ready to respond to that. Certainly, as the weather gets better and people go outside, that will help with reduction and spread of COVID-19. And we also see that nationally, the transmission rate of Omicron is going down and down and down, which is a good thing for us. And we see that number coming down in West Virginia as well. Remember, we're just a few weeks behind the rest of the country. So we'll continue to plan and to be ready for whatever the virus does. But as the governor said, we also want to make sure that we are following the data as we have been doing, and we are liberating some of the mitigation rules and strategies as is being recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and other parts of our national COVID response so that we are staying in step with not creating new challenges for our state by protecting on one hand, but not overwhelming with different processes that may not be absolutely necessary at this point. But we do recommend that each individual take their own precautions in hand when they go out. And the older you are and the more immunocompromised you are, the more you should absolutely be boosted, and you should protect yourself with consideration of wearing a high quality face mask when you're indoors around people you don't live with routinely. Thank you.
And thank you. Just a really quick follow-up question. Sorry. Governor, there has not been a lot of vaccine incentive programs going on lately. Do you think that that could be another way to, push younger West Virginians over that hump of getting their vaccine or even their booster?
Now, Katie, what was the first part of your question? There's not, I didn't hear the first
There's
part.
not many vaccine incentives that have been going on lately.
What? Did you say there's not been vaccine incentives?
Like the Baby Doc program.
It's not coming through here. I'm really having a hard time hearing.
Governor, she's asking if there's not many vaccine incentive programs like the Baby Doc program. Oh,
Katie, I disagree with you. we've tried to incentivize the young people in thousands of different ways, to, through all the baby doll giveaways, to all the scholarships, to all I mean, good gracious, even we started out with savings bonds and, if you're asking, if I'm going to try to do more, I guess you never say never, but we're trying to do the best we possibly can do, Katie, from the standpoint of reading the tea leaves and trying to stay ahead of the curve. It looked like we were really trying to get our kids vaccinated, and we went out with a baby dog campaign, in regard to the kids. Went to school after school after school after school trying to get them vaccinated. And then this thing turned again, and it looked like it moved from the possibility of giving our kids a hard time to absolutely a lot more of our elderly people were dying. And so we pivoted back that way a little bit with our senior centers, and we've still got some real work to do there to award those senior centers, that got per capita wise, got more people vaccinated. But Katie, we're just going to watch it, and and hopefully we're on the downhill slide now, and hopefully the weather and everything will be better on for the days to come.
All right, thank you, Katie. Governor, I'll turn it back to you to close out.
Well, I really don't have anything else to say other than the fact that just this, and I really mean this. West Virginians, what's made you really great, is the thing that has made you the very, very best that you are in every way is you stood up. You stood up, and you went to war after war for us. From the standpoint of military commitment, you've always stood up for what you think is best, and I commend you in every way, and ask you, don't stand up on just some frivolous whatever, but stand up for what you think is right, and it makes you, it's your fabric, and it's surely mine. And so as we go forward, we're going to continue to be great West Virginians. We're going to get through this pandemic. Our economy is robust, and it's going to just get better and better and better as we find ways with the legislature to work together and provide more and more and more great opportunity to the state of West Virginia. I thank, our Senate President Blair. I thank our Speaker of the House, Speaker Hanshaw, and all those on both sides of the aisle, and with our legislature that do the great work, and I congratulate them. They're almost through their session, and I congratulate them for all the hard work and commitment, and the fact that they're away from their families and doing it for not very much money. And so with all that being said, I just say keep standing up for being who you are, because at the end of the day, that's what's made West Virginia great, and that's what's going to continue to make us great. Thank you so much.
Do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4050, defining terms related to livestock trespassing, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Dave Seipold, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed House Bill 4296 to revise outdated provisions within Chapter 23 of the West Virginia Code, which pertains to workers' compensation, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4311, creating criminal penalties for illegal voting activity, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed House Bill 4331, West Virginia's Urban Mass Transportation Authority Act, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4441, creating a Class M air rifle stamp, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Dave Seipolt, Chair.
Report will be received. Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the second reference to the Committee on Finance be waived. The amendment that was made in the Committee on Agriculture made the bill revenue neutral.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4570 to allow veterinary telehealth in West Virginia with out-of-state providers, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Dave Seipolt, Chair.
Report will be received. Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also ask unanimous consent to waive this second reference to on this bill to finance. This passage of this bill would have a positive impact upon the budget, so it's not necessary to see in finance.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Your Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4644, prohibiting the restriction, regulation, use, or administration of lawn care and pest care products, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Dave Seipolt, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4712, required the prompt enrollment and payment plans for costs, fines, forfeitures, restitution, or payment back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed House Bill 4778, permit banks to transact business with any one or more fiduciaries or multiple fiduciary accounts, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4779, permit banks the discretion to choose whether to receive deposits from other banks, or savings and loan associations when arranging for the redeposits of county, municipal, and state funds, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received. Reports from select committees. Oh, you have one.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration engrossed House Bill 4842 relating to obscene matters to minors, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received. Now, reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills.
There are none.
Resolutions.
There are none.
Motions. Petitions.
There are none.
Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 55, respectfully urging current presidential administration to open federal lease sales onshore and offshore.
Question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Senate Resolution 50, designating March 7th, 2022 as West Virginia Library Day at the Legislature.
Junior Senator from the 8th.
Yes, Mr. President, I request unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be put upon its adoption.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 50, designating March 7th, 2022 as West Virginia Library Day at the Legislature.
Question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? Junior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a wonderful day and a wonderful resolution recognizing our libraries and librarians across our state. When we spoke about libraries in a different context earlier in the session, I mentioned on the floor, and I still believe today, that libraries serve as a center for our communities and counties throughout our state. It's where people come together, they commune, they share information, and they read up on information. In West Virginia, libraries work to deliver technology through internet access, providing nearly 500,000 West Virginians with Wi-Fi access throughout the state. Also, libraries have nearly 11.5 million pieces of material available for all the citizens of this state and for anyone else who comes through this state to borrow. I know as a child that I always enjoyed going to the library and checking out books. As a young adult, using the Dewey Decimal System, putting reports together. I don't know if that system still exists today. I'm sure it's called something else. But I know that my own children love going to the library here in Kanawha County and will look forward to doing so when the new library is finished with its renovations here in the next couple weeks. And if you have time between now and the end of the session, or actually after the session, I suggest you visit it. It's on Capitol and Summer Street in downtown Charleston. We should support our libraries and everything that they do because they serve such a valuable service to the state of West Virginia and the education of not just young folks, but all West Virginians. I urge adoption of the resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further discussion? Senator from Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo the sentiments of the Junior Senator from the 8th when it comes to libraries. I think it's very important for all of us to know, and anybody who's listening, that libraries do a lot more than just books. If you need to use a computer, you can go to the library. If you need help putting a resume together, you can probably go to your library. They have a lot of services that are available online. You can download books for your Kindle. The Ohio County Library has newspapers dating back to the 1860s or 70s online that you can research. So the libraries are an invaluable resource in our community that allows for anybody with varying needs to be able to meet those needs, to get some help that they need some help on, but also just to get information, again, from a book, from a downloadable book, internet resources as well. And so I stand in wholehearted support of the resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further discussion? If not, question for the Senate is adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. Bills on third reading.
Engrossed House Bill 2817, Donate a Drug Repository Program.
Senator from Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be moved to the foot of the bills on second reading.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Engrossed Committee Substitute for House Bill 4065, allowing the Division of Natural Resources to teach hunter safety courses in school. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4065 allows the Hunter Safety Orientation Program to be scheduled for the regular hours of the school day or outside of the regular hours of instruction. It requires that the program be offered at least once every spring semester in every middle school of the state. It gives county boards the option to offer the program during the fall semester in middle school or in high school, and provides that if there's an insufficient number of students at a middle school requesting the class in a given semester, the school is not required to conduct the class that semester. I'm happy to answer any questions. I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close machine ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has a title amendment.
Committee on Education moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Committee Substitute for House Bill 4282, relating to establishing next-generation 911 services in this state. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The growing use of cell phones and VoIP devices has made traditional 911 services less reliable because they do not show the location of or information about the caller. Next generation 911 services are intended to solve that problem by allowing data about cell and internet callers to be displayed at 911 centers. House Bill 4282 establishes a commission to study how best to implement next generation 911 services in the state. The commission is to prepare a preliminary report by December 31st of this year and a final report by June 1st of 2023. The commission itself terminates on June 30th, 2023, unless continued by the legislature. I'll take questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4286 relating to exempting persons employed as attorneys from civil service system. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4286 will exempt any public employee attorneys hired on and after July 1st, 2022 from classified service. Many, if not most, state attorneys are already exempt, but some are not. Virtually all attorneys are involved in policy-level decision-making, though which is usually marked by at-will employment. I'll take questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the... Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 29 yeas, 4 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4291 relating to authorizing legislative rules regarding higher education. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4291 authorizes rules of the Higher Education Policy Commission and the Community and Technical College Council. The rules have been reviewed and recommended for authorization by LOCIA. Of the 5 rules authorized by the bill, 4 of them only extend the sunset date. The 1 rule with substantive changes relates to West Virginia Invest. Changes to that rule were necessitated by the passage of Senate Bill 335 last session. Happy to answer any questions. I urge adoption.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the... Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Committee Substitute for House Bill 4324 to update collaborative pharmacy practice agreements. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this bill sets forth standards for a collaborative pharmacy practice. And what that is, it's a practice of pharmacist care where one or more pharmacists have jointly agreed on a voluntary basis to work in conjunction with one or more physicians under a written protocol where the pharmacist may perform certain patient care functions authorized by the physician or group of physicians under certain specified conditions and limitations. Existing law requires that the collaborative practice agreement be approved by the Board of Pharmacy, the Board of Medicine, and the West Virginia Osteopathic Board. This bill removes that approval process in favor of a practice notification. The bill expands the definition of the collaborative pharmacy practice agreement to include a medical provider in training where the agreement is signed by the supervising physician or chairperson of the medical department where the medical provider in training is practicing. This section of the bill, Mr. President, allows for those physicians in a training program under the scope of the chairperson or the head of the department to participate in the collaborative pharmacy practice agreement. A definition of practice notification is added, and it means written notice to the appropriate licensing board that an individual physician or physician group or medical provider in training, where the agreement is signed by the supervising physician, where the medical provider in training is located, and an individual pharmacist or pharmacist will practice in collaboration. So, in other words, it just changes the practice notification to mean the written notice. Mr. President, with respect to the section of the bill regarding practice agreement, it is expanded to include a practice notification. This section also provides that a pharmacist or a group of pharmacists may practice in collaboration with physicians in any practice setting, including but not limited to a healthcare setting, pursuant to the practice notification which has been filed with the appropriate board. There is language in this bill to grandfather existing agreements. The practice notification shall become effective immediately upon filing. Mr. President, the licensing boards do retain jurisdiction to investigate their respective licensees. I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine to ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has a title amendment.
Committee on Health and Human Resources move to amend the title of the bill.
Question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. Senator from Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be made effective for passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Brooke moves the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than two-thirds of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4345 relating to motor vehicle registration cards by establishing electronic or mobile registration cards. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an agency bill by the Division of Motor Vehicles concerning vehicle registration cards. It allows electronic or mobile registration cards issued by the DMV to satisfy the requirement that these cards be carried in the vehicle. The bill also eliminates the requirement that a vehicle owner must sign the registration card. I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the... Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine to ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4380 relating to transportation of athletic teams. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Brooke.
President, House Bill 4380 increases the limit on the number of county board-owned vehicles with a seating capacity of fewer than 10 passengers that can be used to transport students for any school-sponsored activity. Requires buses to be used to transport 19 or more passengers, and includes other changes relating to student transportation. To the body, those of you who are on Senate Education Committee, you may remember Senate Bill 267, which contained provisions that are extremely close to the ones included in here. The change is that currently the driving of school vans is limited to professional employees. This opens it up to service employees to be able to drive these vans, but also moves it from 1 van to 2 that could be used for the transportation of students, and then also includes the updated language on guardians and parents giving approval in writing for transportation by another parent. Happy to answer any questions. I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 31 yeas, 1 nay, 2 absent and not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has a title amendment.
Committee on Education moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4426, repeal Article 3325G1 at SEC, creating provider-sponsored networks. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4426 simply repeals 2 articles in the code concerning provider-sponsored networks. In the Public Health Code 16.2L1 and in the Insurance Code 3325G1. Both articles that are being repealed were enacted in 2012. Mr. President, provided sponsored networks provide a form of managed health care and are currently licensed by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner. Insurance Code defines provider-sponsored network as an entity that satisfies the definition of a Medicaid managed care organization. Mr. President, I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4462, relating to deferred retirement option plan evaluations. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? Junior Senator from the 17th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4462 is the same as Senate Bill 532 that this body passed February 15th unanimously. It was requested by the Municipal Pension Oversight Board, and what this bill does is it deals with municipal deferred retirement option plans, which are also known as DROPs. This bill would basically take the reporting requirement from a 1-year period to a 5-year period. There's savings to the states. I'd be happy to answer any questions and urge its passage. Thank you.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare them. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4489, require counties to post open positions on statewide job bank. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Raleigh.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill adds service and extracurricular personnel positions to the professional personnel positions that are required to be included in the State Board of Education statewide job bank, and requires each county board to provide information to the state board for inclusion in the state job bank. I will take questions, urge passage of the bill.
The question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk has a title amendment.
Committee on Education moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4517, relating to the repealing requirements to display video ratings. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4517 repeals an obsolete article of code that makes it a misdemeanor to knowingly fail to display the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, rating or a lack of an MPAA rating on the jacket of the video cassette. Mr. President, this dates back to the day of video rental businesses in the state and is pretty much, it's non-existent now. So I'll take questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
The question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the... Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action and send it to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4535 repeals section relating to school attendance and satisfactory academic progress as conditions of licensing for privilege of operation of motor vehicle.
Senator from Brooke.
President, request unanimous consent that the bill lay over one day while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4631, establishing a bone marrow and peripheral blood stem donation awareness program. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the purpose of this bill is to establish a bone marrow and peripheral blood stem donation awareness program. This bill directs the Department of Health and Human Services to create a website as a resource to inform and promote donation awareness. It provides for consultation with healthcare providers to promote awareness of the federal and any state resources available for such donations. Mr. President, we heard testimony in committee from Delegate Walker, and this bill was for Delegate Walker, whose son passed away and would have benefited from such a donation. The testimony was amazing, and the inner strength that she showed during that testimony to capitalize, to try to help others from probably in my opinion, the worst tragedy that could happen to a mother, to me was beyond amazing. It's a great idea, and there's no question that Demetria Walker, the delegate's son that passed, will definitely save lives with this creation of the website. I urge passage of this bill, Mr. President.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? Senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in definite support of this bill. I was very fortunate in 2017 when I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma that I was caught early enough that they could use my stem cells to give me a bone marrow transplant. But there were 2 floors of the Cancer Center in Columbus at Ohio State full of people who were having these transplants. Half of them were not fortunate enough to be able to use their own bone marrow, their own stem cells. Therefore, it was important, just like we donate blood to the Red Cross, these are life-saving things that we can donate and make aware that it is important that those stem cells and the blood cancers and things can be overcome. I urge the passage of the bill.
Is there further discussion? Senator from Marion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can't be as articulate and pointed as my colleague from Wetzel, my colleague from Marshall was, but I know that Delegate Walker suffered a great loss when she lost her son, but she found some strength some way to try to do something to help others and to help save lives and maybe someday prevent other families from going through what the Walker family went through. So kudos to you, Mr. Chairman, for putting this on the agenda. And, Mr. President, I urge adoption of this bill.
Further discussion, Senator from Monongalia.
Unanimous consent that the remarks by the gentleman from Marshall, Wetzel, and Marion be printed in the Pennsylvania Journal.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Is there further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action and send it to the House.
Engrossed House Bill 4649, transferring the operations of the West Virginia Children's Health Insurance Program to the Bureau for Medical Services. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the purpose of this bill is to transfer the operations of West Virginia Children's Health Insurance Program, known as CHIPS, to the Bureau for Medical Services and to delegate the policy-making authority from the current Board of Directors to the Program Director. The functions of the board are transferred to the director. The director is a new position and is a deputy commissioner within the Bureau for Medical Services who has responsibility for the operation and oversight of the Children's Health Insurance Plan, CHIP. The CHIP board is changed to an advisory board. The advice and consent of the Senate is removed from board member appointments since the board is now an advisory board. Members of the House of Delegates are ex officio members. The citizen members are removed. Provisions related to the removal of the governor are removed. The new purpose of the board is to present recommendations and alternatives for the design of the annual plans and to advise the director with respect to the other actions necessary to be undertaken in furtherance of this article, Mr. President. With respect to the qualifications of the director of the CHIP program, the commissioner shall appoint an individual in the classified service as a deputy commissioner to serve as the director. With respect to the financial requirements, the actuary requirements are deleted. The requirement that the governor provide an estimate of requested appropriations and total funding available to the board is deleted. Reporting requirements to the governor are removed. A provision saying that families covered by any insurance offered by or through the program shall be subject to cost-sharing provisions, which may include enrollment fees, premiums, co-payments, and/or deductibles. With respect to assignment of rights, the DHHR adds language clarifying how subrogation will work on behalf of the department if medical assistance, if paid to a provider of medical care on behalf of CHIP recipient and other person is legally liable for the expense pursuant to negligence or otherwise. Mr. President, I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the... Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House. Bills on second reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2177, permitting the issuance of a state-issued identification card without a photo on the card under certain conditions. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on the Judiciary moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the committee amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee amendment is a strike and insert amendment for the entire bill, but it's really just technical changes. This bill makes changes to a single section of our state code, and it's Chapter 17B, Article 2, Section 1. And it's the part that allows the issuance of an identification card to people who are not necessarily getting driver's licenses. And the language in the amendment does exactly what the House bill did, but rewords it a little bit. But it allows the Division of Motor Vehicles to issue an identification card without a photograph on it to an applicant who under oath or affirmation affirms, subject to perjury, on a form provided by the DMV that the applicant is a member of a recognized religious sect that has established tenets and teachings due to which the applicant is conscientiously opposed to posing for a photograph. Mr. President, I've been told that it is our Amish community in West Virginia that has the religious objection to being photographed. And so this will permit an identification card to be issued to people who belong to that faith group. I'd be happy to try to answer questions. I urge passage or adoption of the strike and insert amendment.
Is there discussion? If not, question for the Senate is adoption of the amendment offered by the Committee on the Judiciary. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 3223 prohibits state, county, and municipal governments from dedicating or naming any public structure for a public official who is holding office at that time. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4003 relating generally to commercial benefit of substances removed from waters of the state by the treatment of mine drainage. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Tucker.
Mr. President, House Bill 4003 deals with the legal title to potentially valuable chemical compounds and elements and substances that are delivered from treatment of acid mine drainage on mine lands. I'll explain the bill more tomorrow. But the amendment, besides making some technical corrections, adds two identical provisos, which clarifies that nothing in this bill affects any existing contracts dealing with this issue or the ability of parties to enter into an agreement with respect to the removal, sale, or transfer of the material. This simply protects private interest and ensures nothing in the bill could be considered a taking by the state. Happy to answer any questions, but I urge passage.
Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is adoption of the amendment offered by the Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed House Bill 4019 relating to deadlines for public charter schools. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4141 authorizing the Governor's Committee on Crime, Delinquency, and Corrections to promulgate a legislative rule relating to law enforcement training and certification standards. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4242 authorizing the Division of Labor to promulgate a legislative rule relating to child labor. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4295 to transfer the state office of the National Flood Insurance Program from the offices of the Insurance Commissioner to the Division of Emergency Management. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Banking and Insurance moved to amend the bill.
Senator from Wood.
Mr. President, I request unanimous consent to withdraw the amendments by the Committee on Banking and Insurance.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Are there further amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Government Organization moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4295 is a joint agency bill that moves the State National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, from the offices of the Insurance Commissioner to the Emergency Management Division. Although there is an insurance component to the NFIP program, it is more extensively involved with floodplain management and related matters. After 18 months within the Insurance Commissioner's office, all agencies involved have concluded that the NFIP program should be transferred back to the Emergency Management Division of the Department of Homeland Security. Although the amendment is a strike and insert, it makes only technical changes to the bill. It incorporates changes made by the Banking and Insurance Committee. I urge adoption of the amendment.
Is there discussion? If not, question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment offered by the Committee on Government Organization. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading. Senator from Brooke.
Mr. President, I move that the constitutional rule requiring bills be read on 3 different days be suspended. The bill be read a third time and placed upon its passage.
Senator from Brooke moves the constitutional rule requiring the bill be read on 3 different days suspended and the bill be read a third time and placed upon its passage. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Move. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 31 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent, not voting. More than 4/5 of the members present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the constitutional rule suspended. The clerk will read the bill a third time.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4295 to transfer the State Office of the National Flood Insurance Program from the offices of the Insurance Commissioner to the Division of Emergency Management. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 4295, as I mentioned, with respect to the adoption of the Strike and Insert Amendment, moves the State National Flood Insurance Program out of the offices of the Insurance Commissioner to within the Emergency Management Division of the Department of Homeland Security. NFIP was moved to the Insurance Commissioner's office as part of the reorganization of what was formerly DMAPS in 2020 through Senate Bill 586. All agencies involved have agreed that moving NFIP back to the Emergency Management Division will be more efficient and is better suited to NFIP's core mission. The Insurance Commissioner will, however, continue to promote the importance of flood insurance after the move. I'll take questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk should prepare them. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 32 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has the title amendment.
Committee on Banking and Insurance moved to amend the title.
Senator from Wood.
Unanimous consent to withdraw the title amendment by the Committee on Banking and Insurance.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. The clerk has another title amendment.
Committee on Government Organization moved to amend the title of the bill.
The question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House. Senator, be at ease for one moment. Reese. Senator from Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand in recess until 5 p.m.
Subject to announcements. Are there announcements? Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at 3 o'clock p.m. in room 208 in the West Wing.
Are there further announcements? Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Finance will meet today at 3 p.m. in room 451M.
Are there further announcements? Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Government Organization will be meeting today at 2 p.m. in room 1 p.m. Correction. Your Committee on Government Organization will be meeting today at 1 p.m. in room 208 West. The agenda has been posted.
Senator from Preston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Education will meet today at 1 p.m. and 451M.
Senator from Preston, repeat your announcement so I could hear it.
Thank you, Mr. President. According to the grid, your Committee on Education will meet today at 1 p.m. at 451 M.
Are there further announcements? Chair has an announcement. Chair announces the senior senator from the 15th is appointed to the Committee on the Judiciary, replacing the senior senator from the 17th, and the senior senator from the 15th is appointed to the Committee on Finance, replacing the senior senator from the 17th. Further announcements, Senator from Cabell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to seek unanimous consent to address the body. Briefly, it's important.
Is there objection? Chair hears none.
Thank you.
Senator from Cabell.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of my personal heroes, Mother Teresa, had a favorite Bible verse, and I'm going to repeat it. Whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me. Whatever you did for one of these least of my brothers of mine, you did for me. House Bill 4344, Mr. President, has passed the Health Committee and is now, as I understand it, in the Finance Committee. What that bill does, it does two things. It provides some pay raises to protective services workers, but more important to me, Mr. President, it provides transparency to the DHHR. It provides a dashboard under which people in this state can determine how prevalent child abuse and child neglect and child sexual abuse is in our communities. That bill passed the House 99-1. How does a kid turn up in foster care? A child turns up in foster care when they've been sexually abused, physically abused, or grossly neglected, Mr. President. We have system failures in this state, which I know you well recognize within that department. I know each of us is for accountability, transparency. I know of two cases in Greenbrier County, one within walking distance of my house, where 5 children burned up in a fire, where a report had been made of gross neglect and child abuse and nothing was done, and those children died. I know of another case where a loving family in Greenbrier County adopted children who had been molested for years and whose molester went to prison for 100 years. That was not disclosed by DHHR to the prospective adoptive parents. I have the greatest respect for my finance chair. I'm not on finance. The pay raises are important, but they're secondary to me. I urge, Mr. President, that you see that this good bill, particularly the part about the dashboard, that it finds its way to the floor. I know I speak for you and for everyone in here. We want transparency, we want accountability, and we want to look out for the least among us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Question for the Senate stand adjourned until 5 p.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The Senate's adjourned until 5 p.m.
The House will please be in order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. All members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by Pastor Richard Harold, guest of the gentleman, the 23rd, Delegate Holstein.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, and we're so thankful, Lord, to be in your presence. So thankful, Lord, and honored to be here with these men and women today. And God, I pray a special blessing upon each one. Lord, we need help all over the world today. But Lord, there's not a doubt in my mind within this room today, Lord, somebody left home this morning with a heavy burden. Somebody left home this morning with maybe sickness or a loved one there that they're so worried about. And I pray that you would meet every need in this room, Lord, before we go any farther. I pray, Lord, that you would ease the worries, the burdens of each heart, Lord, for those that may be worried or burdened. And God, just meet the needs of each one. God, we ask you, Lord, to bless our country. We ask you to bless our state. So many times we'll sing that song, God Bless America. But Lord, America needs to bless you again. You bless us over and over. So help us to remember to bless you, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you would help us, Lord, in the decisions that we make. First of all, Father, we would make our decisions based on your word. Second of all, Lord, we would base our decisions upon our heart, Lord, what's in our heart, for how that you lead us, because that's how you lead us. I pray, Father, again, Lord, that you would just bless, send peace, Lord. God, I pray that you would just bless and help in the problems there in Ukraine. You know the need, Lord. So bless our leaders, and a special blessing once again upon this group of men and women that's doing their best, Lord, to make laws, to make things better for us. So, Lord, you just continue to bless, and we'll do our best to continue to give you the honor, the glory, and the praise. For it's in the wonderful name of Jesus we're privileged to pray. Amen.
If all members and guests will remain standing, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the gentleman, the 23rd, Delegate Holstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Saturday, March 5th, 2022.
Let him at 32nd, Dr. Kessinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
Let him at 32nd, ask unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? There are no objections. Introductions. Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Michael Amos will be joining us as the Doctor of the Day. He's from Marshall University. If we could make him welcome.
Gentleman 56, Douglas Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have some pages down from Mineral County today. I have Braylon and Brianna McGreevy. If they please stand, they're accompanied by their father, Lance McGreevy. We have Cole Cook. He's accompanied by his mother, Sarah Cook. Emily Claus, accompanied by her father, Josh Claus. Caden Truesdale, accompanied by her parents, Lee Sandy and Todd Washington. Owen Rotruck, chaperoned by Sarah Cook. Sophia Syons, accompanied by her mother, Julie Syons. And Zane Pope, accompanied by his father, William Pope. If they would all stand and make them feel welcome.
Gentleman 32nd, Doug Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have with us in the South Gallery some students from the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine, and I would like to recognize them. And if they would stand as I call their names, that would be great. Paul Kasunik, Nicholas Labach, Savannah Keffer, Elizabeth Arionic, Mary Kate Rosick, and Adam Cook. And would the House make them feel welcome?
Lady in 57, Doug Rowan.
From West Virginia's oldest county, we have paging with us today Hannah Haynes from Cape and Bridge Middle School. And on behalf of all the delegates representing Mineral County, from Frankford Middle School, we have Brianna Kelly, Carson Wilson, Wyatt Royal, and they are here today with their parents, Naoma Haynes, Shargina and Brian Kelly, Whitney Barker, and Sarah Royal. Would the House please give them a wild and wonderful West Virginia welcome?
Gentleman 28th, Doug Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Visiting us from Summers County on the occasion of Library Day is Myra Ziegler and Judy Peterson from Summers County. If they will stand, and we'll make them feel welcome. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 66, Doug Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure if she's in the chamber at the moment or not, but on behalf of my colleagues from the 65th and the 67th, pleased to have Michaela Brushwood paging for us today. She's from Washington High School. She's accompanied by her mother, Melanie Brushwood. Will the House please make her welcome?
Gentleman 42nd, Doug Honaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In case you didn't know, the greatest, the best medical school in America is located in Lewisburg, West Virginia, the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine. So like Delegate Fast, I would like to welcome as our guests today a number of students from the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine. I want to ask them to stand. Samantha Westbrook, Alston Bennett, Molly O'Neill, Lindsay Ray, Casey Harmon, and Amanda Hoke. Would you give them a hearty welcome to the West Virginia House of Delegates? Thank you, doctors.
Gentleman 22nd, Doug Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Putnam County delegation, I have with me some pages from Hurricane High School. We have Hayden Hodge. Would you please stand? And then we have his brother, Lennon Hodge, from Hurricane Middle School. Will he please stand? And they're escorted today by their mother and father, Tony Hodge and Jessica Hodge. Will the House please make them feel welcome?
Gentleman 48th, Doug Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a few guests in the gallery with me. First, my Aunt Leslie Pruitt retired last year after more than 36 years as a circuit court reporter for the West Virginia Supreme Court, is in the gallery today with her. My uncle Dixon Pruitt. Dixon's a veteran of the United States Army and currently a lieutenant with the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. I'm pretty proud Dixon just received a conviction of a 30-year cold case in Harrison County of a young male. I'd like for both of them to stand up and be recognized. I am, for the last time, Mr. Speaker, my father is escorting them, a former member of this House, Mike Queen, if he would stand up, and the House please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman 20th, Doug Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery from Mingo County today is Mr. Braden Goff. Braden is an 11th grade student at Tug Valley High School. He came up today because he has an interest in state government. He wanted to see how this all worked. He got to enjoy some lively debate in the Judiciary Committee this morning. He's the son of good friends of mine, Kim and Rodney Goff. If he'll stand and if the House will make him welcome.
Gentleman 36, Doug Barrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have a guest right here, a very special guest right here on the floor. I've spoken about her before, and I decided to make today Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. She's a recent graduate of Marshall, a wonderful young woman, and now she is teaching at South Charleston High School, and just a wonderful person all the way around. Here's my daughter, Summer Barrick. Let's give her a big welcome.
Are there further introductions? Standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 253 relating to voting precincts and redistricting, and Senate Bill 492 relating to electronic collection of tolls, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that they each do pass as amended.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 698 relating to number and selection of members for Governor's Veterans Council, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 704 allowing parents, grandparents, and guardians to inspect instructional materials in classrooms, and reports the same back with amendment with recommendation that it do pass as amended.
The report to be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 443, including police and firefighter as electors of trustees for certain pension funds, Senate Bill 478 relating to Neighborhood Investment Program, and Senate Bill 546 expanding uses of fees paid by students at higher education institutions, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass.
That report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 1 creating Mining Mutual Insurance Company, Senate Bill 529 encouraging additional computer science education in West Virginia schools, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 550 relating to funding for higher education institutions, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 571 declaring certain claims to be moral obligations of state, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 584 relating to West Virginia Infrastructure and Jobs Development Council, and Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 641 requiring Consolidated Public Retirement Board to set contributions to Deputy Sheriff's Retirement System, and report the same back with amendment with recommendation that they each do pass as amended.
That report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 231 relating generally to broadband connectivity, and reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 6 establishing common law veil piercing claims not be used to impose personal liability, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 245 revising wage payment and collection, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 543 creating Unemployment Compensation Insurance Fraud Unit within Workforce West Virginia, and Senate Bill 570 establishing training for law enforcement in handling individuals with Alzheimer's and dementias, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that they each do pass as amended.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 486 allowing PERS retirees to designate Special Needs Trust as beneficiary, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, and with the recommendation that second reference to the Committee on Finance be dispensed with.
That report will be received. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The two chairs have conferred on this matter, and I ask unanimous consent that the second reference to the bill on the Committee on Finance be dispensed with.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the second reference to the Committee on Finance for Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 486 be dispensed with. Are there objections? No objections are heard. That second reference will be dispensed with. Are there further reports from standing committees? If not, reports of select committees, executive messages, Senate messages, resolutions.
House Resolution 18 encouraging additional supply of West Virginia coal to Europe.
Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the delegate console system.
Item the 49th, ask unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the delegate console system. Are there objections? There are no objections. Petitions? Motions? Bills introduced, unfinished business, bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 515, supplementing and amending appropriations of public monies to Department of Administration Public Defender Services.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman from the 10th, Doug Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation would create 3 new items of appropriations in the Department of Administration Public Defender Services and would appropriate $20 million from the unappropriated surplus balance of the state fund general revenue to these lines from the total amount. $200,000 would be reappropriated to line 4A unclassified surplus, $1,810,000 to be appropriated for line 6A Public Defender Corporation surplus, $17,990,000 will be appropriated to line 6B appointed council fee surplus. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 515, supplementing and amending appropriations of public monies to Department of Administration Public Defender Services.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. 2/3 of the members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 517, expiring funds from unappropriated balance in state excess lottery revenue fund.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 10th, Delegate Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill will expire $22.5 million from the unappropriated balance in the state's excess lottery fund to the unappropriated surplus balance of the state fund general revenue. I urge passage. Thank you.
Question before the House, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There were 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 517, expiring funds from unappropriated balance in state excess lottery revenue fund.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 525, expiring funds from unappropriated balance in lottery net profits.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 10th, Delegate Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill will expire $125,000 from the unappropriated balance of the state's lottery fund to the unappropriated surplus balance of the state fund general revenue. I urge passage.
The question is on the motion or the question is on the passage of the bill. Is there debate on the bill? If not, the question again is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 525, expiring funds from unappropriated balance in lottery net profits.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair, it should be 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 526, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Commerce, Office of Secretary.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 10th, Douglas Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The supplemental appropriation bill would create a new line of appropriation, Department of Commerce, Office of Secretary for directed transfer, surplus in the amount of $500,000. The bill includes directive language transferring the monies to the Market and Communications Fund. I urge passage.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 97 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 526, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Commerce, Office of Secretary.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 97 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 members absent. 2/3 of members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 527, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Administration, Office of Technology.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman of the 10th, Douglas Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill would create a new line of appropriation to the Department of Administration, Office of Technology for direct transfer surplus in the amount of $2 million. The bill includes directive language transferring the monies to the Chief Technology Officer Administration Fund. I urge passage.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 96 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 527, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Administration, Office of Technology.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
Question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 96 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 531, increasing annual salaries of certain state employees.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman to 64th, Douglas Householder, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The bill increases the annual salaries of members of the West Virginia State Police, public school teachers, and public school service personnel beginning July 1, 2022, in the salary schedule set forth as in the statutes as follows. For public professional educators and professional student support personnel, collectively teachers, $2,000 $240 increase in annual pay based on 200 days per year contract. For public school service personnel, it's either $122 or $61 increase in monthly pay. And for members of the state police and certain civilian forensic lab personnel, there is a $10,000 increase in annual pay. All salary increases in this bill and the budget bill will become effective beginning July 1, 2022. That's a summary of the bill, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman of the 61st Circuit, Barrett's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of Senate Bill 531. This is the third time in the past several years that this legislature has been able to provide a 5% pay raise for our teachers, school service personnel. It is my hope that we can continue to provide these raises on a consistent basis. We've taken numerous steps to improve the quality of education for our students, and providing much-needed pay raises to our educators is one of these steps. When we compare salaries of teachers to those in surrounding states, we are still trailing them. Our goal moving forward shouldn't just be to keep our teachers here, but we should be able to attract teachers from surrounding states. There is no question that our state troopers deserve a pay raise. They put their lives on the line protecting the citizens of this state every day. They stand at the rear of this chamber to protect us. The introduced version of this bill would have provided approximately a $2,500 increase for our state troopers. The increase to a $10,000 pay raise is the result of a locality pay discussion that happened on this floor over a week ago. Part of the state's obligation as an employer is to fairly compensate our employees, and I support this effort fully. However, fair compensation does not always mean equal compensation. Locality pay is not some far-fetched concept that those of us who represent the Eastern Panhandle have concocted. In fact, the federal government has long used locality pay differentials. If they didn't, no federal workers could ever afford to live in cities like D.C. and New York. Some states also use locality pay differentials. Our neighboring state of Virginia has locality pay for their public employees living in the Northern Virginia area, which is located just across the border from the Eastern Panhandle. We have an immediate crisis in the Eastern Panhandle with retaining state troopers, corrections workers, educators, CPS workers, and the list goes on and on. When Colonel Cahill, the person who we trust to lead our state police, presented his budget request to the Finance Committee, he spoke about the trooper crisis in the Eastern Panhandle. His recommendation to address this crisis was to provide up to a $10,000 pay increase to troopers in Jefferson, Berkeley, and Morgan counties. I do not believe Colonel Cahill was in any way suggesting that troopers across our state do not deserve this pay increase, and neither am I. It was suggested on this floor that proponents of locality pay believe a trooper's life in one county is worth more than a trooper's life in another. That is both insulting and offensive. We are in no way suggesting that their life is worth more, but it's quite clear that their home costs more. Why should a trooper in one area of the state be able to afford to purchase a three-bathroom house, but a trooper in another area of the state can only afford to rent a small apartment? Several of you have expressed to me your willingness to support locality pay. For others in this body, I'm not sure if your lack of support for locality pay is because you don't understand the unique situation the Eastern Panhandle is in, or you simply don't care. The gentleman from the 6th has on numerous occasions encouraged us to visit areas of the state that we are unfamiliar with, and I'm going to accept his invitation to visit Doddridge and Tyler counties. I invite all of you to the Eastern Panhandle so you can see firsthand how it has quickly become a suburb of Washington, D.C., with housing prices near those of Northern Virginia and surrounding metro areas. I want to make it very clear that I support Senate Bill 531, and I hope it completes the legislative process. But I am concerned about its fate when it returns to the Senate because the fiscal note has now grown by $8 million. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 36, Second row.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise too in support of this bill, and we need this. It was obvious in finance that the state troopers were so underpaid statewide, certainly in the Eastern Panhandle, and I endorse everything that the gentleman has just said about that, but all over the state. We find that troopers are making less than many municipal officers that they serve beside of in wrecks and shootings and everything else. And it's obvious that we need to do this and that locality pay was not enough. And I'm not sure that the $10,000 that we're offering here will be enough to bring the troopers up to the level where they really belong. They are an elite corps of police officers who take the hardest, most difficult cases, who help us in so many ways, and deserve to have fair pay. I am interested to know what might happen to the locality pay as we go forward. I supported locality pay, but I don't think it's enough. It just didn't do the job. So I think that this appropriation, where we're giving the 5% raise plus in effect about another $7,500 to bring all of the troopers up to a $10,000 level, I think is just what we need at this time. But I don't think we should just assume that this is good enough for the next 10 years, because it won't be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 56, Douglas Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Finance Chairman yield?
Yes.
A number of years ago, we passed a bill that allowed the county school boards to supplement pay. This in no way will affect that. They will still be able to do that.
The gentleman's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Gentleman 34, Douglas Boggs.
Whoa. We need to work on that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hey, I rise in support of the legislation before us. It is in need, and the state police certainly deserve the $10,000 raise. But you know, the gentleman from Berkeley mentioned about the locality pay, and it kind of sets up a haves versus have-nots situation. Sometimes I understand it on both sides, but here's a novel idea for us to consider. Why don't we strive to get the pay up equally across the state for all state employees? And then maybe we could take care of that locality pay situation so people that live in these high-cost areas could afford it. But we could also repopulate and get people to move back into the areas that are hemorrhaging location, like is almost everybody in here except a handful. We're hurting in a lot of areas of the state, and we're going to doom some people to the lowest of the low pay forever if we aren't careful and we raise locality pay without giving consideration to the people that are losing population year after year after year after year. So that would be an incentive, because if you could make your money go further in some of the areas that doesn't cost so much to live, we could see our population truly increase, not just truly increase a spot here, a spot here, a spot here. But I support this bill before us, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Gentleman 29, Douglas Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to address, if I can hold on to the microphone, I will. I want to address a little bit of this because, you know, we've been talking about this a lot. I don't think there's anybody in here that doesn't want to support the state police. 100 delegates in here support the state police. This issue with locality pay is different, though. When you're talking about paying somebody more to live in a certain area, that's going to create a dynamic within the state police and within other agencies that can be problematic. And you could create division between people that are supposed to be on the same force. Now, for those of us that were in the military, they had BAS and BAH. That's basic housing, basic sustenance. It was based upon where you were. So if you got stationed in Kaneohe Bay in Hawaii, then your BAS and BAH check was higher than if you got stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Now the thing with that is BAS and BAH did not run through your pension. And what you got to think of here is you're creating a situation where if I'm in Berkeley County versus McDowell County, then that higher pay that I'm going to get because of that locality is not just going to pay me more, it's also going to increase my pension. And you got to be able to see what kind of problem that creates. And what we should do, and I agree with the gentleman from Berkeley County, what I think that we should do is take a look at this over the coming year, look at a BAS and BAH system that doesn't drive up the pension, but takes into consideration where people are living, what the cost of these goods are, and we can have a program much like what the military is designed off of that compensates these individuals for housing and sustenance, but doesn't put them in a different tax situation, pension situation, or run the risk of creating division amongst our state police. That's the last thing we need to do. And I think if we can be successful with that system, that's something that we can apply to corrections. It's something that we could apply to CPS workers, and I think it's something that we can move forward with that's actually a sound economic plan to address these problems. But creating differences in your pay based upon where you live not only would create division within the state police, we've seen the division created in here. And I think that this pay raise bill is a good pay raise bill that's going to get folks to where they need to be. And if we can come up with this system in the future, I think that we can have something very positive for all state employees to participate in. And I hope everyone will join me next year in working on that. But I urge adoption of this, urge passage of this bill right now, because one thing's for certain is we are not paying our state police enough across the board right now. But I would say that I am committed to addressing this locality problem in the future, just maybe in a different manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have some good discussion on this bill. Chair has allowed some latitude on this bill already today. Chair will, however, remind the members this bill does not address locality pay. The bill before us does not address locality pay. So Chair will ask all members to confine the debate to the merits of the bill before us. Gentleman from the 7th, Douglas Barnhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a Rule 49. I've got several members of my direct family who are working in the public school system and would stand to benefit. So, Rule 49.
Are there any members of the body who would like a ruling from the chair pursuant to the set of facts just laid out by the gentleman of the 7th? There are several members. Chair will ask the clerk to turn off all lights that are pending. Gentleman 40, Delegate, if you turn your light off for a second. If you wish a ruling from the chair pursuant to House Rule 49 under the set of facts laid out by the gentleman from the 7th, which is that you or a family member are situated, or you or a similarly situated family member would be impacted by the salary adjustments specified in this bill, please press your lights at this time. Chair will ask the clerk to please note the members who are seeking a ruling by the chair pursuant to House Rule 49 on this question. The 4 or 5 of us left will vote on the bill. Are the members who wish to speak to the bill, please raise one hand while the clerk is taking down these questions. You have them? Okay, all members may turn off your lights. Would be the ruling of the chair pursuant to the request made by the members who have sought a ruling by the chair pursuant to Rule 49 that each member here would belong to a class of greater than 5 individuals and therefore would be directed to vote on the question. Gentleman to 43rd, Douglas Thompson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chair finance yield for a question?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So I'm looking at the bill and the state minimum salary schedule, and I have my county salary schedule. And I did call my county finance person to clarify. I wanted to make sure that we do not offer any supplemental. We use base pay. So I'm looking at the year 21-22. And I'm having some trouble here figuring out where the increase is on the bill. Because when I'm looking at our base, I'm looking at my salary right now, the bill has me making about $1,000 less. I don't, it's,
what,
like, for instance, like I'll show you the example. Look at year 8. and a master's 30, and it's $45,137. When you look at year 8 and a master's 30 on 2021 school year with a master's 30 for Randolph County Schools, it's $46,285.
Yes, and I've been told, once again, whatever your base salary is now, you will not lose that. You will get an additional $2,240 after this bill passes, starting July 1.
Is this a one-time, or is this an addition to the base salary?
It's addition to the base salary.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify that. I'm going to rise in full support of this bill for many reasons. Mostly about 2,300 reasons. No, this is something that we need to be doing in West Virginia to attract and retain our teachers and our state police. Over the past few years, we've taken some steps, much needed steps, to address this problem, but as you can see, we have over 1,000 teaching vacancies in this state, and that hurts our children. We need certified teachers in the classroom, and we need our troopers who put their lives on the line every day. In my district, one of my troopers was shot a few years ago. Some don't go home to their families. So for that reason, I fully urge adoption of this bill, and I hope further looking down the road we can continue making some changes to the salary schedules for our state employees and public employees, and make sure that we offer competitive salaries and competitive wages to keep more people in this state. Thank you.
Chairman of the 6th, Doug Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that we're putting some legislation out here to help our teachers and others, but I want to specifically talk to you this morning about the state police. You know, I think it was last week my good friend from the 42nd gave one of those pin drop type speeches where he just got real with us all about what it's like to wear a uniform, what it's like to get those calls that you don't want to get. And ladies and gentlemen, you know there are 4 of us in this chamber that have worn a police uniform for a number of years. And while none of us wore the West Virginia State Police uniform, 3 of the 4 of us went to the academy. That academy is one of the best training academies in the United States. And because these troopers are trained as well as they are, it's not difficult for them to go somewhere else and get a job making a good bit more. Now, this is not what we'd hoped for, but this is the bill that's before us. And I think it's a good step, Mr. Speaker, in the right direction. I think our troopers are owed this money and much more. And finally, I want to say this. I speak now for the other 4 in this chamber. We didn't wear a green uniform, but there is a lifelong bond with those men and women that stand in the back of this chamber and protect us, or drive those cruisers and protect us out here. So I appreciate your support. I appreciate you pushing green for the state police today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman of the 51st, Doug Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the latitude you give, and I'll keep it brief because I certainly don't want to push that. But I rise in full-throated support of this bill. I do share some of the concerns that have been mentioned, but when this bill was introduced, when we saw it in Finance Committee, I was elated because it's past time for this type of raise. But I do just want to caution briefly that a 10% raise under regular inflation, this pay raise will become obsolete in just a few years. So this is a step in the right direction, but certainly this body and across the hall, we need to start looking at a COLA for our workers and our retirees. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman 37, Doug Pushkin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I'd like ask unanimous consent that my friend from the 6 remarks be recorded in the appendix of the journal.
Are there objections to that? No objections are heard. That'll be so ordered.
Would the finance chair please yield? Thank you, and it's good to see you back. Okay, so this is relates to pay increases just for those state employees that can't just simply be addressed in the budget, correct?
Gentleman's correct.
Okay. Now, in the budget, which we haven't taken up yet, are there any provisions for a cost of living adjustment for retired state employees?
No.
Okay. Thank you for yielding. I just want to briefly address that, Mr. Speaker. While I also, like everyone else, rise in support of this bill, and I'm happy to help the governor keep the promise that he made back in December for across-the-board pay raises for state employees. Like everybody else in here, I received a lot of emails from retirees, and they said, "What about us?" And my response was, "Well, we've introduced a bill year after year for a cost of living adjustment for retirees. I'm sad this is the only time I get to talk about it because the bill didn't run once again." Price of everything else is continuing to go up. We need to take care of our retirees. I'm happy to support this bill, but at some point we've got to adjust what they're getting. They're living on a fixed income and they need our help as well. So I'll be voting yes on this. I wish I could also be voting to help our retirees, but unfortunately this year we have not taken that up.
Gentleman, the 10th, Delegate Chris? No? Okay, well, our system's not working well today. Does anyone else wish to be recognized on the bill? Please raise one hand. Gentlemen, wish to close debate on the bill? The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 97 ayes, 0 nays, and 3 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 531, increasing annual salaries of certain state employees.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect July 1st, 2022.
Question is on the motion that the bill take effect July 1st, 2022. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 97 ayes, 0 nays, and 3 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective July 1st, 2022. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Let's perform a bit of an IT test. I'd like every member to please press your recognition button. Okay, now please turn off your recognition button. Gentleman the 40th, Delegate Jeffries. Is your light on or off? Off? Okay. All right, clerk will report the next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 626, supplementing, amending, and increasing existing items of appropriation from State Road Fund to DOT DMV.
Are there objections to having the bill explained to having it read? If not, gentleman, the 10th, Delegate Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The supplemental appropriation bill will increase the existing line items of appropriation in the Department of Transportation, Division of Motor Vehicles, for the amount of $8,519,000 from the unappropriated balance of the State Road Fund. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak on the bill? Gentleman 36, Doggett Rowe, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had a question for the Vice Chair of Finance.
Yes, sir.
I understand this is an $8.4 million appropriation to the State Road Fund.
It's from the State Road Fund to the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay.
$8,450,000 for personal services and employee benefits, and $69,000 for current expenses.
Now, are those sums supposed to cover the 5% raises for DMV employees?
I believe so.
Okay, and I think this points us to something that some of the members don't know, I think, is that this is the motor vehicle, the Division of Motor Vehicles is funded by special revenues.
State Road Fund.
And the governor did not fund the positions for a 5% increase if the employee is paid for, if their salary is paid for by special road, or by special funds.
That is correct.
Okay, so if the employee is paid by general revenue, then the 5% pay raise has been added into the budget, correct?
Correct.
But this is necessary to give DMV enough money to be able to fund their pay raises for their employees.
It just allows them spending authority for personal services and employee benefits and current expenses.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are there other members who wish to be recognized on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 95 ayes, 3 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 626, supplementing, amending, and increasing existing items of appropriation from State Road Fund to DOT DMV.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 96 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 members absent. 2/3 of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 627, supplementing, amending, and increasing existing item of appropriation from State Road Fund to DOT DOH.
Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman with the 10th, Doggett Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation will increase the existing item of appropriation from the State Road Fund to the Department of Transportation, Division of Highways, in the amount of $21,200,000. This is spending authority for general operations. I urge passage.
The question now before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 627, supplementing, amending, and increasing existing item of appropriation from State Road Fund to DOT DOH.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There were 97 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 628, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Commerce, DNR.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman with the 10th will explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill would increase existing lines of appropriation in the Department of Commerce, Division of Natural Resources, for personal services and employee benefits in the amount of $184,162, and for a capital outlay of $1 million. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 628, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Commerce, DNR.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
Lady from the 49th moves that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 629, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Education, West Virginia Board of Education, Vocational Division.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman will attempt to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill would increase an existing line appropriation in the Department of Education, State Board of Education, Vocational Division for Jobs and Hope in the amount of $214,800. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 97 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 629, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Education, West Virginia Board of Education, Vocational Division.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk, lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect from passage. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 98 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 630, supplementing and amending appropriations to Higher Education Policy Commission Administration Control Account.
Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman of the 10th, Douglas Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill will increase an existing line item appropriation in the Higher Education Policy Commission Administration Control Account for the Facilities and Planning and Administration in the amount of $400,683. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 94 ayes, 3 nays, and 3 members absent. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. For what purpose does Lady from 51st seek recognition? Douglas Walker.
Mr. Speaker, I was sitting in my chair. I'd like to vote in the affirmative. My vote didn't register.
Did not register?
It didn't. I pressed the green button. It didn't show up on the board.
Okay, the clerk will please note the lady from the 51st, Douglas Walker, as having voted in the affirmative, as having voted in the affirmative on passage of the bill. Okay, the clerk will again please report the title.
Senate Bill 630, supplementing and amending appropriations to Higher Education Policy Commission Administration Control Account.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that Senate Bill 630 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of that motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 96 ayes, 1 nay, and 3 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 636, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Revenue, Office of Tax Appeals.
Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman of the 10th, Douglas Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The supplemental appropriation bill would increase an existing item of appropriation in the Department of Revenue, Office of Tax Appeals, for current expenses in the amount of $74,816. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Gentleman of the 16th, Douglas Linville, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to draw the body's attention to one very important detail. During special session, we appropriated $2 million to the Department of Revenue Division of Tax. And if you'll recall, the justification for that was that they were going to be able to remodel a building, that they were then going to be able to eliminate $600,000 a year in expenses for rent. Does everybody remember that? Well, what we heard in finance is that this $74,000, said nearly $75,000, is for moving expenses, among other things. You want to know what's not in the budget? A $600,000 reduction that we were told we would get. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask, where is the taxpayers' $525,184? I urge rejection.
Is there debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Lady from the 4th. Okay, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 67 ayes, 30 nays, and 3 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 636, supplementing and amending appropriations to Department of Revenue, Office of Tax Appeals.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion that Senate Bill 636 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Okay, the clerk will close the machine and we will put that question again. Yes, we'll put, the clerk will please try it again. Hang on, don't open the machine yet. For what purpose does the gentleman of the 16th take a Hornbuckle? Okay. All right, question again is on the motion that Senate Bill 636 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member now voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 86 ayes, 11 nays, and 3 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 637, supplementing and amending appropriations to Executive Governor's Office Civil Contingent Fund.
Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the gentleman of 64th, Douglas Householder, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This supplemental appropriation bill would increase an existing item of appropriation in the Governor's Office Civil Contingent Fund for local economic development assistance in the amount of $15 million. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
Okay, the question is on passage of the bill. Gentleman 36, Doggett Rowe, is recognized.
Some questions from the chair.
Yes.
Sir, as I understand what the Local Economic Development Contingency Fund allows the governor funds in order to spend on projects that help us in localities. Does he have more than the $15 million we're giving here in the Fund for Local Economic Development Assistance?
He does. He has roughly $4.6 million right now in that fund.
Okay, so this will increase it up to almost $20 million.
Gentleman's correct.
Now, if he chose to use it for this, and I don't know how he will choose to use it, could he deposit some or all of this money into the grant match funds that we've set up? And I think there are two that are over at the Senate now, one for infrastructure match grants and also one for Coalfield community development.
The governor could. He has broad authority for any local economic development project or even recommendations from any member in here.
All right, thank you, sir. I support the bill.
The gentleman of 15, Doggett Foster, is recognized.
Thank you. Does Chairman yield for questions?
Yes.
I'm looking at this bill. In this account, what are the stipulations on as to where this can be spent?
It's for local economic development projects.
Just the title of the fund?
Yes. You yourself could make a recommendation to the governor. Any member in here could make recommendations. You are the eyes and ears on the ground to make recommendations to the governor.
And what amounts can be spent out of this account?
The full $15 million that we're putting in there.
Now, what is it? Just local economic development, or can it also be spent on other things?
It's anything that it has broad authority, whatever recommendations that you bring forth to the governor could make that decision to fund it.
So what about sponsorships? Can I make a recommendation for a sponsorship?
If that's a recommendation that the governor chooses, the governor could choose that.
So, and I'm looking at the accounts, there's $1,050,000 right now that went to a sponsorship of a race car driver. Is that something that could be expended out of this fund?
Yes, the governor has broad authority to make those recommendations.
What about $15 million to the, if money could be spent to a Greenbrier Rehabilitation Fund?
The governor has broad authority to make recommendations for any local economic development project.
All right. And this says Christian Rose Racing LLC was over $1 million. Do you know who or what that is?
I met Christian Rose Racing for the first time this year.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to urge rejection of this bill. This bill is not something $15 million. We just heard the gentleman from the 61st talking about issues with $8.9 million, which was the Troopers Fund. You know how we could guarantee that that money's there and the Senate couldn't say no to that? We could vote down this appropriation. The money would be there for the troopers' pay raise right now. This is a Senate bill putting $15 million in the Governor's Civil Contingency Fund. I recommend we reject that because this money has no protections on it that will be spent for what it is other than the title of the account. And through looking through all these funds, it's shocking that we would see a lot of this spent on advertising expenses or for something that is only affecting not all of the counties in the state. So I would urge rejection of it. I think that this is unwise at this time, and as stated, there's already $4 million in this account. So I would recommend rejection of this appropriation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman of 42nd, I got Longenacre recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Chair of Finance yield for a question?
Yes.
And I know this bill didn't come from the House, so I'm not directing this line of questioning at you, but do you recall over the past course of the past year the governor has funded or incentivized people getting jabs by paying for bass boats for these people and pickup trucks and deer rifles and a lot of other stuff. Did that money, do you know if that money came out of this account?
I don't know. I'm not aware, but I don't believe so.
Okay, so, but we're not sure. So,
I'm pretty sure it came out of the CARES funding that we have and also the ARPA dollars.
okay, so we're in an election year, and COVID is taking a smoke break. But after November, when the potential of COVID-20 comes back, or COVID-21, or whatever it's going to be next, could some of this money be used to buy an RV or help a lady in White Sulphur Springs win $1 million for getting a jab?
No, this is set up for recommendations like yourself. If you had a recommendations for a senior center, maybe the heating system went down, you could write a letter to the governor and say, hey, our senior center in Greenbrier County or whatever county, that system has went down. We need an additional $6,000, $7,000 funding. Then the governor could make that decision. That's what it's used for.
I appreciate that. I know you're going on information you have. I don't have enough information in this bill, and I don't know what to believe anymore after what I've seen coming out of Greenbrier County the last year and a half. But thank you for taking the time to discuss that with me.
The gentleman of 56, Douglas Howell, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman continue to yield, please?
Yes.
Now, we've heard some of the things that this money may have been used for that is not, but mostly what this is used for, like give you an example, we have the railroad crossing issue in Kaiser that I've been dealing with. This money could be used for an engineering study to put a bridge over the railroad tracks to eliminate the crossings and provide relief to the 500 citizens that live north of the tracks. Am I correct on that?
The gentleman's correct. You are the eyes and ears for the governor, so to speak, because you should know what needs that you have in your community, and you make those recommendations to the governor. And if the governor chooses to fund it, the governor can choose to fund it or not fund it.
And mostly that is what it's used for.
It's used for local economic development, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The gentleman from 10th, Douglas Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Chairman yield? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I had an economic development project that was working in my district, and we needed an additional, say, $300,000 to put that property in text ready to move forward on that project, and we went to the governor for that additional $300,000. This is the fund that money would come from. Is that correct?
That's exactly what this fund is used for, and you could make those recommendations at any time. Every member in this body has that ability to do that, and that's what that money is supposed to be used for.
But the bottom line is, this is the fund that request would come from.
Gentleman's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman of 30th, Douglas Bates, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and with the chair, you'll.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
You left things in good hands. I just want to, I've been trying to follow along. You know, I'm sure all the hundreds of thousands of people who are watching at home are doing the same thing. Prior to us taking up all these supplementals, we expired money from excess lottery and lottery to the general revenue unappropriated balance.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. So prior to taking up these supplementals, we're spending unappropriated money for this fiscal year, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
It's
So
general revenue unappropriated of $75 million that we cut in last year's budget. That's what's funding this $15 million.
So so it's the unexpired from the previous fiscal year.
That's correct. The fiscal year that we're in now.
Yeah, so we expired money from excess lottery and lottery, I think $22 million.
Which is typical, which is what we do.
Yeah, is that the same bucket?
It is. It's all the same bucket, general revenue unappropriated.
So one way to look at this is that we took $25 million of excess out of lottery, and now we
moved it into general revenue unappropriated.
And then we're taking it for general revenue, and now we've moved it to the civil contingency fund.
Gentleman's correct.
All right, and basically these projects generally are one-time projects. They're
one-time money.
Base building type projects. We need something to do something. Once that something's done, then we move on again.
The gentleman's correct.
Thank you. Could you tell me what is the current unexpired general, what's unappropriated right now within general revenue this fiscal year?
Well, this here should expire all of the funding, I believe, all of the 60-some million that we had left.
So that would close that portion of it out. So what we would then be looking at is what is the surplus section.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 27th, Dr. Gearhart's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I see you've, the finance chair's got a drink of water and gotten his air, if I could ask him to.
Sure.
Is it fair to say that a lot of the members here have made requests over the last years for dollars from this fund?
There's been a fair amount of recommendations, but that's what it's for.
Have most of the amounts that have been approved from members here been an equal amount?
It just depends on what that need is.
In the majority.
Well, let me finish. An HVAC system could be $7,000 to $10,000 versus a front door that was broken down to something. Big difference. So it's whatever those recommendations are.
I recognize that.
Yeah.
My question was, has the vast majority of them been approved at the same amount level?
No, not a vast majority. There's been some that's been not funded. The governor has chose not to fund them for whatever reason.
Okay. Final question. We have discussed tax reform in here pretty frequently.
Right.
And one of the methods that we have attempted to deal with tax reform is by having some surplus revenue available to jumpstart that process. Would it be helpful in your mind to have an additional $15 million to assist with tax cuts, tax relief for the taxpayers of the state of West Virginia?
I'm going to do one better. I'm going to try to get $265 million. That's why it's in the surplus section of the budget.
I understand. However, that really wasn't the question, because I've seen the budget and I recognize that. You have to let me ask the question before you answer it, brother.
Okay.
Since we have $265 million, would it be more helpful to have $280 million?
Well, maybe tomorrow or maybe today we can make an additional amendment to the budget. It's on second reading today. We could maybe drive that surplus up even higher, and I would support that. I'm sure everybody else in here would support that.
At whatever amount would an additional $15 million be helpful?
Yeah, we could. 15, 20, whatever, yes.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing here that says how the dollars committed to this fund are going to be distributed. My friend from Putnam County was accurate. This can go to purchase advertising on a race car. It could go to fund downtown improvements in the amount of $15 million in the city of Martinsburg, or it could be distributed in equal amounts to the members here, regardless of really what the need is, just regardless of what's available. I would submit to you that many of the folks that have received these dollars have also had an accompanying picture in the paper thereafter, or a television news article thereafter to indicate that your delegate's working hard and bringing money home to your district, and here's the amount. Now, I'm not going to be hypocritical, folks. I have made application for and have received an amount, $12,000, which we committed to the local football stadium in our area, which many of you may know, I'll do a little commercial, was voted as the best high school football stadium in the nation. We had some needs there to maintain that status, and it's a big economic driver in our area. But I can tell you that there was no picture in the paper. I simply delivered a check. There was no news article. I delivered a check because I really don't want these dollars to be distributed around the state to help folks get reelected by having their picture in the paper. And oftentimes, I think that's the way this works. Or for a favored project of the executive or a member of the executive. We should be doing what is necessary to be done across the state of West Virginia, as opposed to allocating dollars to a fund that often help to get us reelected. I would urge to reject the vote. Thank you.
The gentleman 37, Dr. Pushkin's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to say, as someone who represents part of a county that is represented by currently by 11 delegates, I can't say that I've seen one story in a paper One the story on the local TV news about any of these checks that have come from this fund. I have heard about several of us helping nonprofits, senior centers, youth sports. I've heard about it. I've not seen any of these articles that my friend spoke of. I would just say that if you have made a request, it would be a bit hypocritical to vote against it. We don't want to be like our friends in Washington, D.C. who repeatedly vote against something and then come home and take credit for it. Don't do that.
Question again before the House. Shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman 36, Second row is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I strongly support this bill. I think whenever you look at the big picture, we can all find some expenditure that we question, and it's our job to question. But to set aside the governor's ability to be able to respond immediately to problems that arise, I think is a big mistake. If the members would look at item 1, the Senate's contingency fund is $4 million. The House's contingency fund is $4.3 million. And it doesn't say contingency, it just says Committee on Government and Finance, $7.7 million. I think we've already crested the amount that's in question on this bill. The point is as it's been pointed out by the finance chair, that the governor needs the ability to be able to respond and have enough money to be able to make changes whenever they're immediately needed. And if we deny this $15 million, then we're going to have the governor for a whole year is going to have maybe $4 million to work with. So I think that what we need to do is to approve this fund. He may get other funding in the budget for next year, but I think this is important. And I would point out again that we have transformative match grant funds set up for coalfield communities and for infrastructure development. And if we don't have places to get the money to get the match in, we're in big trouble. This $15 million can bring in, on a 20% match, can bring in $75 million to coalfield communities. So I think that what we need to do is to give these different agencies the ability to respond and help us redevelop coalfield communities and also build infrastructure all over the state. So, Mr. Speaker, I strongly support this bill.
The question again before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there other members who wish to speak to the bill? Does the gentleman wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 89 ayes, 8 nays, 3 members absent. A majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 637, supplementing and amending appropriations to Executive Governor's Office Civil Contingent Fund.
For what purpose does Gentleman 15, Douglas Foster seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Rule 48, I'd like to explain my vote.
Okay, the gentleman is recognized pursuant to Rule 48.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we had heard a lot of talks. I see the vote definitely passed and that money will be there. And my concern now is we have not forced the Senate's hand to be able to provide that $8.9 million for the troopers' pay raise that we just passed earlier. So I plan to make a request of the governor for $8.9 million out of this civil contingency fund for the troopers' pay raise if the Senate does not approve it. And also, I would ask you all to sign on to that with me. Any member here is available to do that, but I will be making that request. Thank you.
The question again is, are there title amendments to Senate Bill 637? If there are no title amendments, then the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from passage.
The question is on the motion by the lady from the 49th that Senate Bill 637 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of that motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 90 ayes, 6 nays, and 4 members absent. 2/3 of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares that bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there other bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading?
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 181, creating core behavioral health crisis services system.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 213, establishing licensed professional counseling compact.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 250, budget bill.
Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to advance the bill to third reading with the amendments pending.
Lady in the 49th, ask unanimous consent that committee substitute for Senate Bill 250, the budget bill, be advanced to third reading with the amendments pending. Are there objections? If no objections are heard, that bill will be so advanced. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 274, requiring Secretary of DHHR to allocate CPS workers by Bureau of Social Services District annually.
Are there amendments?
The Committee on Health and Human Resources moves to amend the bill. On page 6, line 121, by striking subsection B in its entirety and inserting in lieu thereof a new subsection B to read as follows. B, the Secretary shall annually allocate Child Protective Services workers by districts of the Bureau of Social Services and report the allocation process to the Legislative Oversight Commission on Health and Human Resources Accountability by July 1 each year.
The question now is, shall the amendment just read by the clerk be adopted? Gentleman of 17th District, Rohrbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment removes an internal effective date and further clarifies the language in the legislation. That's a summary of the amendment, and I urge adoption.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. Is there debate on the amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment read by the clerk will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares that amendment adopted. Are there other amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 330, authorizing DOT to promulgate legislative rules.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 427, permitting West Virginia Board of Medicine investigators to carry concealed weapon.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 466, relating to limitations on civil actions or appeals brought by inmates.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 493, requiring Board of Education make meetings available to public in person and through internet.
Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to postpone action one day.
Are there objections? Okay, there are no objections. Action will be postponed one day on that bill. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 505, updating laws on licensure and regulation of money transmitters.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 522, combining offices of West Virginia State Americans with Disabilities Act and West Virginia Equal Employment Opportunity.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 553, relating to powers of West Virginia Health Care Authority.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 575, ensuring that imposition of certain sexual offenses apply to persons working in juvenile facilities.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 593, allowing Marshall University's Forensic Analysis Laboratory access and participation in West Virginia DNA database for certain purposes.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 603, prohibiting licensure and relicensure in West Virginia if applicant is prohibited from practicing in another jurisdiction.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 694, relating to oil and gas conservation.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill be postponed one day.
Lady from the 49th moves that action on committee substitute for Senate Bill 694 be postponed by one day. Those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares that motion adopted. Action on committee substitute for Senate Bill 694 will be postponed by one day. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4023, Budget Bill, making appropriations of public money out of the Treasury in accordance with Section 51, Article 6 of the Constitution.
Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to advance the bill to third reading with the amendments pending.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that committee substitute for House Bill 4023 be advanced to third reading with the amendments pending. Are there objections? If no objections are heard, that bill will be so advanced. Are there other bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Senate Bill 135 relating to acquisition and disposition of property by Urban Development Authority.
The bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 440 establishing Uniform Commercial Real Estate Receivership Act.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 470 relating generally to health care decisions.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 508 requiring certain attire for deer hunters with muzzle loaders.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 535 providing for revocation of school personnel certification or licensure in certain circumstances.
The bill will be advanced.
Senate Bill 591 relating to process for filling vacancies in state legislature.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 595 relating to dangerousness assessment advisory board.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 616 relating to confidentiality of court files and law enforcement records of certain enumerated offenses.
Are there amendments? Pardon me, the bill will be advanced to second reading. Are there other bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for our colleagues Delegate Hansen and Hardy.
Are there objections to leaves of absence being granted? No objections are heard. Leaves of absence will be granted. Introductions. Introductions. Miscellaneous business. Gentleman 66, Douglas Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent that the remarks of our colleague from the 61st during our consideration of Senate Bill 531 be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Are there objections? No objections are heard. Is there other miscellaneous business? If not, lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move subject to announcements the House adjourn until 11 a.m. Tuesday, March 8th.
The question is on the motion that subject to announcements the House stand adjourns 11 a.m. Tuesday, March the 8th. Are there announcements, lady from the 49th?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Rules will meet at 10:45, March 8th, behind the chamber.
Lady from the 38th, Douglas Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Republicans will caucus in this chamber 30 minutes after adjournment.
Gentleman 10th, Douglas Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet today at 3 p.m. in the Finance Committee room. The House Republicans will caucus in the Chairman's office prior to the meeting at 2:45. The agenda is posted. Your Committee on Finance will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Finance Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Your Committee on Finance will also conduct a public hearing at 6 p.m. this evening in the House chamber regarding Senate Bill 1. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman 32nd, Douglas Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Judiciary will meet today at 2:30 p.m. in the House Judiciary Committee room. The agenda is posted. In addition, your Committee on Judiciary will meet tomorrow morning, March 8, at 9:30 a.m., and the Republicans will caucus in the Chairman's office at 9 a.m. in the morning, and the committee meeting will be in the House Judiciary Committee room. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman of 51st, Douglas Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Education will resume the posted agenda at 3 p.m. in the Education Committee room. The Republican members will caucus with the committee chairman's office at 2:30. Also tomorrow, the committee will meet 1 hour after floor session tomorrow. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman of 15th, Douglas Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Committee on Government Organization will meet today in the Government Organization Committee room at 3 p.m. and the agenda is posted. And also, we will meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. And for today at 2:45, Republican members will caucus in the chairman's office.
Are there further announcements? If yes, lady in 52nd, Dr. Seipold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you would allow me, I would like to make a quick announcement. A few weeks ago, I made the announcement in here about a Marine that was transported from North Carolina back to West Virginia. That was not brought back to our state under very favorable conditions. Our Veterans Committee, I don't know if some of you know, but our Veterans Committee did a citation to the 2 escorts that brought that the body of our West Virginia Marine back. And we sent those citations a couple weeks ago to be delivered to those escorts. And when we did, the 2 escorts were out in the field for training, but got back in Friday, and their commander, Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Williams, presented those 2 citations to those 2 escorts. And he was nice enough to send the photograph back with a picture of the escorts that had received the citations. And I just wanted to share that with the body here. Also, I have posted that on my Facebook page if anybody would like to tag on and to that. The mother of the boys, I would like to thank, she said, thanks to Terry Buck, Roy, and other delegates. Thank you for honoring the men who brought my son home. They will always hold a special place in my family's heart, as well as our community. And the stepmother also said, thank you so much for recognizing their service. These Marines meant the world to us, and seeing them recognized by our state representatives means so much to us. And since we was not going to have another Veterans Committee meeting for me to make this announcement, and I know a lot of people other than those in the Veterans Committee was very touched by the story, I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady in the 41st, Dr. Tully.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may request to add the lady from the 52nd's words in the appendix of the journal, I would like to do so.
Are there objections to that request? There are no objections. Request will be so noted. Are there other announcements? If there are no other announcements, the question before the House is the motion that the House stand adjourned at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We are adjourned at 11 o'clock tomorrow.